This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Explore the history of Wish TV, one of Indiana's longest-running television stations. We'll take a deep dive and interview the people who have helped bring some of the most important stories to Indiana since 1954. This is our story. Our Wish story. Local then, now, and always. Wish TV.
Hello, my name is Chris Wakefield, and this is Wish Story. For more than 30 years, she appeared on television sets across central Indiana. From celebrity interviews to midday news updates, she's known for her distinctive voice, infectious smile, and extreme work ethic. From behind the microphone at the University of Dayton's WVUD all the way to the corridors of 1950 North Meridian Street, it's my honor to introduce you to Emmy Award winner and Indiana Broadcasting Hall of Famer, Patty Spitler.
Wow, that was really nice. I'll have to pay you for that one. Checks in the mail. That was good. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
So,
you can ask me anything you want.
Before I forgot to hit record the first time, I'll admit it. We were talking about your radio career at WVUD. You would do the morning drive from 6 to 9, was it?
Yes.
And then go to class?
Yes.
Wow. How did you manage that?
When you're young, you could do things that I'm in my jammies now by 7 o'clock at night. But you just do it because, and I loved doing radio. That was fun, as I told you before. I mean, in radio, I was the disc jockey. I wasn't the news reporter. So a lot of times I was in there all by myself, introducing records. And I'm an only child, so it was nice to be alone. And you feel that, I don't know, I always felt I could talk. And even though I was talking to one person at a time, realize it's not a group, just one person, I just felt kind of liberated because at that time you could say more things than you can say now. And especially in the morning, you can say more things. And I was one of the first female disc jockeys to be a DJ and a morning DJ. So that was interesting. And I got to admit, too, I'll tell you, there were those who didn't like it. There were those who thought she shouldn't, because these were all big, male, deep voices. It did help me train my voice a lot, too, so that was good. But and then there were those who did like it. So luckily, I guess more people liked it than didn't. And I was always open to criticism and willing to learn and move on. And I realized, because in high school, I was very, very, very shy. The beginning of high school, I was Patty. And so I studied a lot, and I got all A's, but I wasn't very social. And then in my sophomore year, I was on the spiral staircase, and I played the old frumpy fat woman, and all of a sudden I heard this, a little applause. I'm like, wait a minute, I like this. And because I had a deeper voice, I tended to get the older parts. So that helped me develop as well. So I see a pattern here, because in the beginning, in high school, I wanted to be a veterinarian, but then I realized you have to take chemistry, and that's hard. So I ended up doing for now 50 years, because started in radio in 1974 when I was a sophomore at the University of Dayton. So let me count it up. That's 50 years. Now, I did take a break there, as you know. We can talk about that as well, because I have some health issues that made it kind of very stressful to do the news when you have to get it right.
Eventually, after a few years on radio, you get your face on the billboard. What was that like?
It was very odd. I went from Dayton to to, where is it, Richmond, Virginia. I had a boyfriend there that I wanted to be with. And then that was talk radio, so that was interesting. And we did a show there. I was one of the first to do a show called Dateline. You can't do that now either. You match people up who would call in on the radio. And then I went from there. I applied to Wish TV, and in 1982, 42 years ago, this is challenging my math. I did a show. I tried out and got a show, which was another kind of a lifestyle show, talk show, with Dick Wolfsey called Indianapolis Afternoon.
I searched and searched and searched. If my boss Peggy knew how much time I spent searching for this, she'd kill me. I searched and searched for that Billboard magazine ad that you saw in the summer of '82 for the casting call for Wish TV, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, I wish I'd saved it too. I don't have it.
I want to keep looking for it.
I want to keep
looking for it. Because one of the things we're going to do on this show, and this is our first ever show in this series for Wishtory, is we're going to really try and connect the past to the present. And I want to talk about what happened inside these walls. As a historian, what bothers me the most is things I wasn't here for, alive for, I couldn't see. So I want to know everything. Yeah. So let's go back to '82. You see the ad in Billboard magazine. What did you know at the time about Wish TV, about Indianapolis? You're in Dayton at the time. What did you know?
At that time, I was in actually Cincinnati, but my boyfriend had then moved because he was in production and TV as well. He'd moved back to Dayton, so I went to go visit him, and he put together audition tape for me. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And from the audition tape, then they said, come in and let's do live in the studio. And again, since I like things, I mean, we didn't plan any of this. I like things that aren't planned as far as questions. You just kind of, because it makes you listen. When you listen, you go, oh, this is what I want to ask next. So I got the job. Unfortunately, the station was sold. Wish TV was sold at that time after only 9 months. So the show went under. And then they said, oh, I still was under contract. And they said, what are we going to do with Patty? Dick Wolfsey had gone on to, I think he went on to Channel 4 at that time. They did a talk show over there. So he was gone, and they said, we don't know what to do with her. We'll put her on the weather. So I did the weather for about a year and a half, but I'm not a meteorologist. I went out and got the Think and Do book of weather for fifth graders because I didn't know what was going on. But I learned a lot there, too, because you have to ad-lib. So I'm better at ad-libbing than I am at... When you do the news, you have to read it, and you have to do it right, because it's important, you know. And I understand that. But I've always enjoyed, let's put it that way, enjoyed more doing, like this, interviews where you just have to listen to the person and respond in a way that's hopefully appropriate. So...
When you walked in the building in 1982... Still here.
Yeah, it is.
I'm assuming there was a lot more wood paneling on the walls, probably.
Oh yes, that's true.
You meet with Bill Stowe and Karen Miller.
Bill Stowe was the general manager. Yes, that's okay. And Karen Miller was the program director. And I remember you had to go in and do an interview, sit down, just kind of talk. And this nice gal was interviewing me, and she goes, "Patty, what do you like to play? What games do you like to play?" And I said, "Ooh." I like to play chess because I like getting jumped. And the behind the scenes, Steve Rickel was director at that time, and he thought it was funny. But everybody else out on the set said, "Oh my gosh, she's ruined it. They're never gonna take her now." But Bill Stowe saw the audition tape and he liked it. So luckily for me, I got the job, and it was great working with Dick Wolfsey. We were actually ahead of our time because we were doing like a lifestyle show. That they do now on just about every channel, but nobody else was doing it at that time. We'd have people come in and talk about, you know, their business or their cooking or what they were doing, their books. So it was, each one has been not only an adventure, but a learning process. And that's what's kept me going, you know.
What else besides, 'cause this is a pivotal moment in time in '82 for this interview. It sets the course for the next 40, 50 years for you. What do you think about that interview, besides your great answer about chess? What do you think got you the job here? What did they see in you?
Gosh, I don't know. I guess, you mean, I'm not your typical cute girl on TV. I'm not your typical, I don't answer things the way, you know, most folks were doing at that time. Things have changed. So maybe that just caught the eye. Again, it was Bill Stowe who said, I like that. It's different. And I just got lucky. Let's put it that way. That's part of, that's part of life. You get lucky, and it went on from there.
And what did you know about Indianapolis when you first came here?
That's one question. I said, what do you know about Indianapolis? And they go, I know you have a little bit of a race here. That's
little race.
That's all. Yeah. Now, I've been to so many of them now, but I didn't know much about Indianapolis, but I was willing to learn. And it's funny because when I got here in '82, I thought, well, after my contract ends, maybe in a couple years, I said, I'll probably move on. That was 1982. This is my home.
One of the things I noticed is that early in your career, you go from Dayton to Virginia to Pittsburgh
Moved
to
a lot.
Cincy, and you really put your roots down here. What is it about the station, the city, that caused that longevity?
Well, I guess I was still. They always presented something new for me to learn, and let's face it, you get to know the people. These are my friends. My friends are generally the friends I work with. I'm an only child, and my parents are gone, so I really have no family other than you're my family now. You realize that, so. You're smiling. He's smiling. I think it's maybe sorrow. But anyway, so I've always gotten close to the folks that I worked with, and I got close to the folks here, and that was one reason to stay, And continuing to go on, in 1985, I moved on from weather to entertainment. I was doing some news, but yes, I went on to my first celebrity interview. You'll like this. 1985, I went to interview Mel Gibson and Tina Turner.
Wow.
So I have a Tina Turner interview. I'll have to send that to you. I have to air that again, too. She's got a Broadway show coming out. They're doing the Tina Broadway. I can't wait to see that. And it just took off. So then all the studios, that's when they used to send you to L.A. and New York to do interviews. So I was traveling. That's another reason I stayed. I was traveling every weekend. I was working Monday through Friday doing the noon news and doing interviews and local, entertainment issues, and then I left Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock after the noon news, ran to the airport, and then came back at like midnight on Sunday. So I was working 7 days a week. But
where'd you get that work ethic from?
I loved it.
Where'd that work ethic come from?
I don't have anything else. No, except now I have puppies and kitties. We can talk about that.
I know your father was an inventor / mechanical engineer. Your mother managed a series of apartments and houses around Dayton, right?
Yes. She, again, my parents were older when I was born. So the good thing that they taught me, I think, was they kind of knew I was going to be on my own, because when they had me, my dad was 41, I think my mom was 39, 40. And they didn't want any more kids. I don't even know they wanted me at that time. But they taught me to be independent, and they treated me like an adult. So I did learn to be independent, and I think that helped me in the later years not to be dependent or too dependent on other people, but to try to make a path for myself. Maybe other people can. I know there's other people out there like that, but I think we oftentimes spend too much time looking for someone who's going to take care of us. Take care of yourself if you possibly can. Ask for help. I've got some issues, too. I have some hearing issue. We can talk about that. By the way, I can hear your voice. You have a very nice voice.
Thank you.
And I can also see your lips move. When I meet people, I have Meniere's disease, by the way. When I meet people and I say, take your hands away from your mouth and let me see your lips move and speak the King's English. And at one time, I went to, for here in Indiana, I went to one of their camps for hearing impaired children to try to help, and I told this little 10-year-old, she also had Meniere's disease, and I told her that, let me see your lips move, take your hands away from your face, and speak the King's English. She goes, okay. And she went up to her mom and said, Mom, what's the King's English? And she'd never heard that phrase before, so that was cute. So that's the other thing we talked about before going on. If you make a mistake, which we all do, and I'm lucky that I'm in a position that if I make a mistake, I can either laugh at it or say, I'm sorry, let's go on from there. But don't I know people who beat themselves up. Oh, I did wrong. What am I going to do? It's over.
Right.
Go on.
I want to jump back here to 84, 85. You become the entertainment director or reporter. I forget which title they officially gave you, but you're in charge of a lot of celebrity interviews.
Yeah. Well, also, I was willing to work 7 days a week.
And that helps also.
A lot of the folks that do at that point did. By the way, they won't do much of that anymore because we Zoom now. Yes. They're not going to spend thousands of dollars to fly out.
And that's my question, because I went through your tape library upstairs. I spent the last couple of weeks looking at all of your tapes. There's a distinct difference between when you're interviewing someone in person versus when back then it was via satellite.
Yeah.
As a reporter, what's going through your mind? What's your mood like when you're in person versus via satellite?
I posted it this other day, and I had some folks who disagreed with me. I know Zoom, it's least expensive, and you can get people from all over the country, and they don't have to fly you in, but I don't like it. It's not the same as sitting there with Tina Turner or Brad Pitt or Robert De Niro and getting a feel for what they're doing. You know, how do they look? Are they clenching their hands? Did they look away? Did they grimace? What's their body language telling you? It's just different when you go in and you shake their hand and you have Denzel Washington going, "Hi, I'm Denzel Washington." I go, "Hi, I'm Patty Indianapolis." And, the people who would remember you, Morgan Freeman, oh, I love him. He was just the best interview, and that voice. Oh, but it's different when they know you. Oh, Robin Williams, he always would remember me. Again, I'm a little different, but he was always so nice, and he's one of the few comedians that was really, really nice. Sometimes comedians, they don't like you to be funny, and they don't like you to upstage them or say something. They want to take the show over. So they can be a little aggressive or rude. And Robin Williams was always just the best. I miss him. People say, "Who do you miss?" And I really miss Robin Williams.
Speaking of comedians who can be hot and cold, you had a special relationship with David Letterman and his mother.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
His mother was wonderful, and I'd go over to her house because she was a cook, and I can't cook anything. So I'd go over, and he was very, very kind to me. I interviewed him a couple times. That's when Wish TV was CBS, and he was on CBS. And he was very, very nice to me, but if I said something and tried to be maybe a little funny, he would just stare at me. He wouldn't say anything. So I learned my lesson, Again, he wasn't rude to me, but I could tell that that wasn't the direction that he wanted to go in. So we had good interviews. There's the other thing you can do when you're with someone in person. You can see and you can feel what they're thinking. You can just see them either tense up or reach towards you, or it's all different than when. And I realize that as far as economy and getting quick things on the air, that Zooming and Skype and Zoom, that's the way to go. But no, it's not the same as being in person.
You mentioned in 1982. Ownership changed. Do you remember which groups it was changed to?
Which groups it was changed
to? For the TV station. Because we were a Corinthian station for a long time.
We were Corinthian, and then we became, I don't remember. It's been sold several times.
And that's my point, is that in the 80s, we really start hopscotching between ownership groups and media organizations. But I want to talk about, take me back to that day when you are told Indianapolis Afternoon is coming to an end.
Quite frankly, I thought I would be leaving too, but they went and looked at my contract, and I had 3 more months left on it, whereas Dick Wolfsey had signed his earlier, so his was up. So he went on, which he wanted to do as well. He didn't want to do news. I mean, he's not a news person either. And I thought, okay, I'll stay. And that's when they put me in weather, because they thought that was kind of ad lib, and maybe I'd do it. I told you this, I think. I went out and bought the Think and Do book for 5th graders to learn about the weather, because I didn't know anything was going on. I learned. I made some mistakes. Was
Dick Wolfsey, did he have a Beagle back then in 82 already? Or?
He went over to Channel 4 and did a talk show. He stayed in Indianapolis as well, which is interesting because he's a New Yorker, and we all thought he'd go back to New York or something. He started off as a teacher, and no, he decided to stay as well. And we're still friends, so that's terrific. But I think the best thing we all can do is, if whatever profession you choose, if you love it and you learn and you feel you're progressing, then maybe you should stick with it,
What's the one interview you could never land? Who's that one person you never got?
Hang on. Well, I'll tell you, this is O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was going to be in the movie with Priscilla Presley, Leslie Nielsen, remember?
Airplane.
That's it. And he was supposed to show up for the interviews, and he didn't. Well, at that time, he was, O.J. Simpson, and he didn't have to do that. Whereas the other ones, they did it, and they reached all around the country. But I never got to interview him.
And for history's sake, I want to jump in here. O.J. died yesterday.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this in 10 years from now,
yes.
This
and
is
that made me
fresh.
think about it, too, because I saw him. So I never got to meet him. Who else? Gosh, I got most all of them at the time because, see, that was the only way they could reach around the country. Indianapolis, Chicago, L.A. Because they didn't have. I mean, you could do a satellite, but that wasn't considered. They wanted the movie critics and the reviewers to be there in person because that was working. Then COVID hit, and everything changed.
I want to jump to the 90s now, and this is an account in your book here, The Dog Who Saved My Life.
Yeah.
Great book, by the way. I've read it twice.
You.
I told you I've read it twice.
Twice? Woo!
It's a page-turner. You're in downtown Indianapolis one day, and you were interviewing Mike Tyson. And you mentioned in your book, Tyson flirts with you a little bit. And
Yeah.
Does he invite you back to his room?
Yeah. Well, I did an interview with him. He was in for the Indiana Black Expo. And that is the week he got in trouble, you know. The interview went fine. It was great. But you could tell he had on his chest a necklace, and it had like a jaguar with little eyes in it, little like diamond eyes. And I said, "Oh, that's beautiful." He goes, "Would you like it?" He goes, "Maybe we can meet up later, and you could have this." So my point is, you knew what he wanted. And there was a point at the end of the interview, and it wasn't just me. I mean, you know, a point at the end of the interview, he said, "Oh, watch out, ladies, I'll be out there." You know, so he's kind of, this was his at the time, and we all, you know, go through these things. It was pretty clear where he was going with this.
And his exploits from back then are very famous. We don't have to retell them here of how many women he would go through in one night, but the importance for our sake is that he invites you back to his room, you decline, and either that night or later on that weekend.
It was that evening. Someone went to his room.
Desiree Washington, and he is convicted of rape and serves prison time in Pendleton, Indiana.
If she went to his room, she had to have known what he was looking for.
Right.
That's just my contention. I could be wrong, come on. Now, also at that time, 80s and 90s, there was a much more flirting going. I mean, you get in trouble now for doing anything. But it was a lot more open, and people were flirting more, and it was just a different time. Things have changed now, but I think it was pretty clear what he was looking for.
Right. We'll move on from Mike Tyson and O.J. Simpson. Get a little bit happier here. Who do you prefer to interview more? Rock stars or movie stars?
Movie stars.
Why is that?
Now, there are those that are tough. Tommy Lee Jones, he's tough. What do you think of the movie? I don't know. You saw. What do you think? Whoa, okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger was terrific. Always just, come on in. He now, again, different times. He bounced me once on his knee. I'd lost some weight. He said, "Come over here," and he bounced me on his knee. I'm not offended. That's fine. I recently did Kevin Hart. He called me baby. That's fine. I'm not offended. Rock stars. Go back to when I was doing radio and I was doing hard rock in the late 70s and the early 80s, actually late 70s. And Leonard Skinner came into the studio to do an interview. And I had written at that point, I mean, you know, I'm still learning. So I'd written down some questions, and the guy came over and tore up my paper. So I had to do it without that. And then I know what he was doing, but I was like, oh, my God, there went all my questions. So I did it, ad lib. When I did country music for a while, they were very nice. Minnie Riperton, Minnie Pearl. I didn't do Minnie Riperton. I did Minnie Pearl, Bobby Goldsboro.
Dwight Yoakam, Trisha Yearwood.
Yeah, Eddie Rabbitt was terrific. But they were much more used to doing interviews with radio people and TV people than the rock stars, And it was a time when the headbangers were coming out, and that was their image too. They had to be kind of rough and tough.
Well, why? I never understood that. Why are they so surly and so I don't want to be here? Is it just an image thing?
I don't know. Now, John Bon Jovi was great. It just. I don't know.
Did you ever take it personal?
No. Oh, no. No, if you're going to do that, this isn't the job for you. I don't think. Or at least that wasn't at that time. Again, things have changed. But it was great fun. I loved it. What I like to do, though, if somebody gives it back to me, as you can tell, I'll give it back to them.
Right.
I'm not just going to say, oh, I'm offended. You can't do that. Oh, come on. Oh, please, put that away. Let's go on.
Fair game. One of the things I noticed after watching hundreds of hours of your tapes and
my
your interviews Your voice is in my halls at home. It echoes off the walls now. I've been watching so much. One of the things I noticed is that when you start to go to the Vogue to promote those shows at the Vogue, is how relaxed your interview subjects are during those interviews. And it's something about you. The shoulders go down. They don't tense up. You're sitting at that tall table. And it's such a different style of interview that I've never seen with celebrities before.
Wow, thank you.
Why do you think they were so comfortable? Was it the setting? Was it you? What was it?
Maybe I'm not threatening. I don't know. I take that as a great compliment. Thank you. Why do you feel comfortable with me now? We just met.
Well, I've been watching your videos for the last 2 months, so I feel like I know you. I know your whole story.
Oh, jeez. We're going steady now.
I feel like I know your parents. I know your animals.
Oh, we need to talk about the animals, too.
So let's transition then. So, because the 90s go on.
Okay. I'm working every day, 7 days a week,
every day.
Interviewing, blah, blah, blah. Yep.
Tragedy happens in your life. Your mother passes away. Yeah. You get a divorce. You spiral.
Yep.
How did this dog save your life?
Well, I quit December 24th, 2004. I was supposed to go on, and I thought I was supposed to actually interview an opera star. And I thought either I'll have to take my hearing aids out because I have Meniere's disease, and I've been wearing a hearing aid. And I'll either take my hearing aid out and pretend like I can hear what she's singing, or I'll leave it in and it'll hurt. And I thought, I'm done. I'm just done. And as I say in the book, when fatal fire sounds like flat tire, it's time to get out. And in the news, you have to get it right. Now, so I thought, I'm done. Went home. That was a rough time. And I've always had cats because you can travel, have someone look at the cats. You don't have to be there all the time. When you have a dog, you got to be there. You got to take them out to potty, and they want to see you. So I thought it's time. I grew up with a dog. My dog's dad, my dad's dog, Duke. I grew up with him, and Dad always had dogs, but they were his dogs. They weren't my dogs. So I wanted a dog, and I thought I wanted a collie because Duke was a collie. But then you don't see collies anymore, and I started looking up, know your breed, and I found a Bernese Mountain Dog online, and then I talked to some folks who had them, and I met a responsible breeder, and I thought this is the dog for me. They're kind of big and goofy. So that's when I got my Louie. That was 2005. And I spent the next 4.5, close to 5 years going to the dog park. And I realized now I was learning for the next thing I was going to do. Learn about parvo, learn about rescue, learn about know your breed, learn all these different things about animals. Too many kitty cats. Kitty cats will breed with anything. They want to make kitties. How do you take care of animals, whether they're pets or farm animals or at the zoo? What's the best thing you can do for them? So I would spend the next 4 years learning. Then they came to me, a producer who worked here, Jason Heath, and he knocked on the door and said, let's do a pet show. I thought, well, that'll last about 6 months. That was 2009. 15 years now, going on 15 years.
Nice.
And then I do another show called Great Day TV. We started in 2008 as Boomer TV, and then because Boomer is only about older people. And then Great Day TV, we can do stories on anybody. And it started at the end of 2014. So I've got each one runs twice, so it's bi-weekly. And Great Day TV is statewide. We're in 8 stations around the state and Louisville. And then Pet Pals TV is nationwide now. So we're up everywhere, 41 million households. We started on Comcast On Demand in the very beginning, one time a month. And now I wanted to be busy, so now I am. So anyway, Louis saved my life, and he changed my life, and I do pet shows now, which I love, and the Great Day TV. So I get to do things I love. And again, back to my hearing loss, if someone says Fido or Fifi, first off, I don't have to hide it. I help to represent Hear Indiana and Whisper Hearing and CapTel phones. Fine. So everybody knows I have hearing loss. But when you're doing the news, you can't say, it's not about you, it's about the news. So I feel much more open. My stress level went down. When I quit the news, my systolic, the one on the top level, was 220.
Wow.
They put me in the hospital. It was that bad. So they brought my stress level down. My dog did that as well. And now, is it Fido or Fifi? I said, what was that again? I don't have to hide it. So that's the good news.
I've got a couple of lightning questions for you.
Okay, go.
9/11. Were you here on 9/11?
Yes.
What was that like that day?
At that day, I was in to have, with my eye doctor, Dr. Lanter, and I saw the first one hit the building. I couldn't believe it. It didn't seem real. I was watching NBC. Brian Gumbel?
Yes.
Yes. He's no longer there. He was good, too bad. And I thought, I got to go to the station. So I went to the station. It was crazy. Everybody was like, what's going on? And then the second one hit. So we just didn't know what to think or what to do and what it was going to happen. I mean, what's the next one? And it was scary. It was scary.
I'm guessing lots of activity running around and...
Yes, and I know people who went to New York, covered, what was going on. I didn't go because that wasn't my beat. But what I would do is stay and be the anchors to toss it to them. So someone had to stay and do that. So that was my job.
You used to do in the mid-2000s these 30-second news updates. When we were Wish TV 8 24-hour news. And I have tried to time these out and do them myself just for fun. How did you do this?
I don't know.
You would get the weather in, you get the top stories, you get really 20 seconds because there was a tag before and after.
Tag before and after.
What was that like?
You guys should make it sound like I knew what I was doing.
You should be in the Hall of Fame just for those. If anyone has, Ken Owens has updated, put a ton of videos on YouTube of you doing this. It's fascinating to watch.
Well, first off, you have it's called inner foldback. You had an IFB in your ear, which is another problem because I had to put this in my ear and take out my hearing aid. Now, in 2019, I got a cochlear on this side. That's helped a great deal because this side was completely dead. So when I take out my IFB and put in the inner foldback so I could hear the director saying 3, 2, 1, I couldn't hear people around me. Like when I was working with Eric Halverson or Dave Barris on the noon news, they would have to write things down for me because I couldn't hear the person next to me. That was very stressful. So how did I do it? I had help with, and you just get a feel for the timing. You just get a feel for, okay, I better shut up now. And part of it is help, part of it is just natural.
I got a couple more for you.
Go.
What was it like winning an Emmy? After 17 nominations. 17,
and I got a couple more after the one I won. The one I won for was when it was 1994, and I won in 1995. Again, they sent myself, Raquel Bunmundy, producer, and John Rikas, photographer, and we went to L.A. And we interviewed Pat Chazak, we interviewed Bob Barker, who's since passed, too bad, and did some stories in L.A., and we won. But again, the station sent us to us. I'm sorry, what?
A special on game shows.
I did a special on game shows. I forgot I was doing that, too. At that time, I was doing a Patty special, which was an evening special 4 times a year, so it was quarterly. And I would just do interviews locally, nationally, places they sent me, and we put together a half-hour special, and they sold it.
And you won an Emmy.
And I won an Emmy. Yeah, that was pretty... I still got it, yeah.
Who'd you thank during your speech?
I don't remember. I know. Oh, wait a minute. I do remember. I was when the awards came out in 1995. I was in L.A. doing interviews, so I could not go to the event.
Oh.
So I had someone get up and thank for me. And I called downstairs, it was the Four Seasons, woo, and I called downstairs. I had to talk to somebody, and I talked to the front desk, and I said, I just won an Emmy. So they sent me up a basket and champagne and all kinds of stuff. But I should have been there, but I was working.
You're, again, workaholic.
I was working, yeah.
Last question, because you have to go back to work after this interview.
Yeah.
Last question, what was it like? For a short time, you worked the anchor desk with Mike Ahern. What was that like?
Yeah. Well, Debbie Knox is the main anchor. And again, when I came here and I did Indianapolis Afternoon, then the weather, and then Debbie went to the evenings with Mike Ahern because she was doing the noon. And Ray Rice was also on the noon news. So he said, and then Lee Giles, our news director, said, let's put her on with Ray in the afternoon. And then from there, when Debbie take a vacation or something, then I got to substitute for her. Mike is the nicest guy in the world. He's gone through some tough times that we don't need to go into, but we all go through, our challenges. But he was the nicest guy in the world. I've been lucky. There's another thing. I've worked with some great people. Eric Halverson and I worked together 20 years. We never had a fight, never had an issue. Dave Barris is funny and clever, very nice too. Randy Ollis, who just retired. Boy, everybody's retired. Debbie Knox just retired, and they're all friends. I mean, I've got all their texts, emails, and I see them on occasion. So Tina Cosby, she just wrote me the other day. We were talking about O.J. Simpson. And they're lifelong friends. So how lucky am I?
Very lucky. Well, on behalf of myself, the people in this building, and the millions of viewers out there, thank you for what you've done, and thank you for being a part of Wishtory.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This is our story, our Wishtory. Local then, now, and always. Wish TV. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.